Hey guys, I want to welcome you back to my channel. My name is Deborah Robinson, aka Lily Rose, which is what I'm known for. And that is a book I wrote, about 4 years ago. It was published by Skyhorse and Simon Schuster. And I also want to welcome you, by the way, to my home. This is where I live in Palm Beach, and I've been a very lucky girl. I started out my life, which is a lot of what I tell you in Lily Rose, which is here. Life has its successes and its failures. And my beginning was, let's just say, it was not the best. I was originally adopted when I was born. Unfortunately, it was about 6 months before I got some parents, which thank God I got them. And the story was that I couldn't sit up when my parents got me. I had a flat head, which thank God it rounded out. So my story began alone. And that was a heartbreaking part, even though I probably don't remember it because I was not audible at that time. My parents, thank God, adopted me when I was 6 months old. And so I was changed, my name was changed from Lily Rose to Deborah Ann. And so I'm both those girls today. And I guess we wonder, and one of the things that we explore in Lily Rose is nature versus nurture. And nature versus nurture is really about what makes you who you are. What makes you the person you are. And I've had so many successes and so many failures. And I'm going to tell you all about all of them. And to begin with, I started out my life in a, shall we say, coal camp in Appalachia, but I had absolutely wonderful parents. It could not have been better for me. I had such a beautiful life with them, but growing up in a coal camp, you don't exactly know. Now, my parents happened to be executives in the town, which there were only a few. Almost everybody was a coal miner. And I never even began to know what New York, Palm Beach, or, well, anywhere else was. But I always knew, even when I was a little girl, I always knew that I personally knew I was going to be somebody. I was going to go to New York, and I was going to succeed. I had no idea what New York was, but I thought I was going to go there. And the adventures that took place from the time I was like a young girl, having this wonderful life with my family, and then what happens from there, sometimes you wouldn't even believe it. As I say sometimes, it's like a bad B movie on Lifetime starring a washed-up actress, because no one could possibly believe all the different things that have happened to me over these long years. And I now sit here in Palm Beach, a very lucky girl, lived in New York, Connecticut, Atlanta. I've had so many great adventures, but I'm going to tell you about those challenges as we go along, and I hope you'll stay with me. Just tell you a little bit about why I wrote this book, Lily Rose. Now, I had spent an enormous amount of my career in the fashion industry, and I went to New York when I was 21. Now, I didn't have any idea what I was really going to do. You know, I thought I was going to work in a fashion office. Now, I didn't have a clue what a fashion office was, but I was going to do that. So many things happened, but I'll tell you, I then decided that many years later, after which I hope to tell you the whole story, but it's a long story, so I hope you're prepared to sit around with me here, and you'll see different parts of my house as we tell the story, is that I wrote Lily Rose, this book. The reason I wrote it was because I think from the very beginning, I wondered why my mother, or I would call her my biological incubator, why she gave me up, and why no one else looked like me, that I couldn't say when other people said, oh, I look like my brother, I look like my sister, I look like my Aunt Betsy, or whatever. I never could say that. And because of that, I always wondered, who was this woman? Who was this woman that said goodbye to me and was so willing to put me in a foster home? And so it made me wonder about my worth as a human being. And so I think that's what made me start to write the book. But then so many things happened in between my being very successful in my career in fashion and then meeting what I thought was the man of my dreams, which actually was not, but I married him, and then he found someone else, and we got divorced. I was devastated because I didn't have a family. My family was gone. My parents, which I guess I kind of forgot to tell you that, but my parents passed away at the same time when I was 28 years old. And it nearly broke me. I'll be honest with you that trauma nearly ended me. But I rose up, I got up, and I was married to my husband, my first husband, and then he decided I wasn't the right girl for him after about 12 years. And when he decided that, I was devastated because I had made his family my family. So I think at that particular time, I started to wonder, well, who am I? Who are my family? Who is my family? What am I? And so I started to write Lily Rose. And it began back when she gave me away and gave me up. And when somebody gives you away, and then your husband gives you away, you lose your family, you start to question everything about life. I wrote this partly here in Palm Beach. I wrote it at my Connecticut home, and I wrote it in the midst of New York City. Living in a stratosphere that no one would believe, which comes a lot later, but you have to hang on for that part of the story when it gets really good. Because always I want to say, the thing in Lily Rose is, what it tells you is that you'll have many successes and many failures. But when you fail, you have to get up and start again. So in Lily Rose, I wrote it because I had to know in my own heart that I had set aside what I lost and what I gained. And that was at a different point, and I stopped this book at a point when so much more happened after. And the book begins back when I am in Kentucky, in a coal camp, in a little place called, well, they call it Bloody Harlan County. I grew up in Cumberland, and when I decided to move on to New York, I got some fabulous jobs and whatever, and so I write about that. Now, not every single part of Lily Rose is true because of legal matters. It's actually inspired by my true story, but there are things in it that are not necessarily true because I don't protect myself. But basically, I would say that it was to find one, nature versus nurture, which I talked to you before about which part of me was a part of this woman, this, what I would say, not very nice woman, which you would find out in the book, gave me away. And then what part of me was that great woman that nurtured me and held me and took care of me and became my mother and will always be my mother, even though she's gone. And it also made me want to succeed. It made me want to succeed so bad because I had been given up numerous times, either by death or by divorce. So that was one of the reasons I wrote this. By writing it, I would say, spilling out my guts, literally spilling out all that so far in my life I had experienced. And how was I at, a young age going to start again? And it takes you through the times when I do have to start again. I have to get up. I'm pretty broken after losing my parents, losing my first husband, and losing his precious, precious family. And what did I do to get up? I moved to another city, even though I was working in New York. I moved to another city, and I didn't know one person. And that's in this is in this book. I didn't know one person. And when I walked down the road, it was in Buckhead, Atlanta, I felt it was almost surreal. It was like, I don't know anybody. I don't have anybody. Like when I would write down on a piece of paper and they said, who's your contact? Who's your main contact? I didn't have one. And so this book took me to the heights of New York fashion, even after being put down, being shoved aside. But yet, my desire to succeed is what went into this book. And my desire to find her, to find this woman who had given me up after I had lost my parents. And so I began that search. And that search, whether you are, and many of you probably have your own families and whatever, and it's all been wonderful, but you know, when you don't know who you are and you don't know where you are, you're going to seek that person out, but you don't know whether that person, and there's so many movies that portray adoption, or if you're from a sperm donor, if you were done by in vitro fertilization or surrogacy, you don't know who the other partner is, particularly if it's like you don't know who the mother is, you don't know who the father is, whatever. You may know the mother and you don't know the father. Well, I didn't know either. And so the quest was to find out just who I was. And wait till you hear what happened when I found out just exactly who she was and why she had done what she did. Another heartbreaker, but everybody makes it sound like when you meet that person is going to love you and that you've found your family. It's not always true. Is blood thicker than water? I can't answer that question. Well, guys, I guess you should know where you can buy Lily Rose instead of sitting here talking so much about it and then you don't know where it can be bought. Well, originally it was sold both in Barnes & Noble and on Amazon. I can tell you that it was Skyhorse Publishing and Simon & Schuster, so I had incredible publishers. You can buy it on Amazon now. I think in Barnes & Noble it's probably not being sold now because when I wrote the book, it was in 2020. The one thing I want to let you know, I've told you some really hardcore stuff today, but I want you to know that in the next episodes of my life, when I thought, that I was totally screwed, guess what? I really wasn't. I went to the highest stratospheres of New York City. I married one of the top presidents and CEOs of a Fortune 200, and also he was he was a great man. He's now my late husband. He was also one of the very famous guys who was one of the originals of Barbarians at the Gate, and which was a very, very, very important book. And you can still buy that too. And it's master's degree reading at Harvard. But mine's not master's degree reading. Mine is, if you've ever experienced nature versus nurture, infidelity, infertility. Oh, I forgot that. Yes. I did not get the children I want. If you have had adversity and then you wanted to get up and try again, that's the way to do it. So it's on Amazon if you want to grab it. But we're going to go more into this life, my Palm Beach life. I've been here a very long time. So I'm almost what you call, I'm a Florida girl, and I'm also what I'd say kind of a native Palm Beacher and New Yorker.